Welcome back to another Epidoes of these crazy fools that just keep eating meat and can't stop talking about. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about what we drink. This is another short ribs episode. So Justin and I do these short videos, just covering a topic quickly for people who want to just hear something short and concise. So we appreciate it if people subscribe, because that really drives the channel, and comment. We'd like to hear what you guys are drinking and what you tolerate, what you don't tolerate, what makes you feel good, what doesn't make you feel good. So leave us some comments. Make sure you hit that like button and the alert button so you know when we release a video. Try and roll out these one of these short ribs every week. And we also usually roll out a long format topic as well every week. So you get 2 videos a week. Got some good content for the carnivore community out there. So Justin, tell us all about the stuff you drink.
Yeah.
What can you drink on carnivore?
Yeah. So, this may seem like a silly question, but it comes up all the time. We always hear, can I drink tea? Can I drink coffee? Can I drink alcohol? Those are the primary 3 that people ask about.
And yes, you can. Even if they aren't carnivore, you can still drink them.
Right. So this here is where we have to separate things out, at least for myself. So there's what you can drink and there's what you should drink. And the bottom line is that the body is meant to consume one thing, and that's water. You're not really meant to consume any other liquid, certainly not Coca-Cola, certainly not, whatever's at the bottom basement. We know you're not supposed to drink motor oil or drain cleaner and things of that nature. It's blue, but just because it's blue doesn't mean you should be drinking it, unless you're Frank Reynolds, which states all the best foods are blue, according to Frank Reynolds. But so water's primary. I think, it's very important. Now there is some minutia about minerals, because oftentimes, in the modern world, we don't have access to wild, spring water or just natural springs and things like that. Many of us drink city water or bottled water or reverse osmosis water or alkaline water. There's a lot of different kinds of water out there, many different health food stores. They try to sell you this or that. Oh, there's box water. This one's in a steel can. This one's no aluminum, no BPA, all this kind of stuff. So we've kind of made water kind of crazy and unnecessarily difficult.
So how much fight milk do you drink?
Not enough. Certainly not enough. God.
Right. So you cut back on the fight milk. So did I.
Cut back on the fight milk. Yeah. The other thing I think we're meant to drink, well, I suppose there's one thing for sure, and one is a maybe, depending on your genetics and population. So the one thing for sure we're probably meant to drink is blood. I've never heard any complaint of a person drinking blood aside from the yuck factor of drinking blood. But if you want your iron and many different, I'm not quite sure about the nutrients of blood. I know it's good for you though. Tom, could you enlighten us on maybe what you could get from drinking blood?
Well, I've heard it described, or I've read about it being described as the perfect food. So, and of course, typically we're talking about, animals we frequently eat, that's going to be cattle and pigs and, perhaps chickens. I don't know. I never drank chicken blood. I would be worried about it not being clean, but people do drink blood. You can buy it in some of the markets. I know here that if you want blood, you got to go to the Asian markets. Typically, really the Chinese supermarkets will have it. So there's some people that swear by it. They'll drink pig blood, stuff like that, to get ready for stuff. And when I was a kid, they used to get calf or pig blood, but they'd actually cook it up for breakfast. They didn't just drink it. So
right. Yeah. So I think blood is, again, number 1 might be water, or maybe number 1 might be blood and number 2 is water. We probably in our ancient time, in our ancestry, I've got to have a hunch that we are probably getting most of our hydration from blood and meat. You know, meat is mostly water
Yeah.
as well.
And I might go out on a limb and say that, blood's probably more of a nutrient and water is really probably more there for hydration. And the crossover going to be that blood's going to be high in mineral salts and things like sodium and potassium and stuff like that. So that would lend itself to the hydration, but I'm not sure. Well, a fair amount of blood, the blood is water, so we probably do get some hydration. And of course our food has water in it. You're eating a steak, it's got water in it, so.
And, in our ancient ancestry, we were much more apt to eat raw. And if you eat raw meat, you're getting hydration and the nutrients from the meat. Although under FDA guidelines, we cannot recommend the eating of raw meat. So there we go.
Right.
But back to, we've gotten a little bit offside, but so yeah.
Yes, we did.
So one of my absolute favorites, and I think the go-to for most carnivores, is sparkling water. It's fun, it's still healthy for the most part. Now there are some that have complained that the bubbles can cause some issue with the.
Do you read the instructions on that thing?
I did not.
Just rock that whole thing forward, that whole metal the wire apparatus. Rock it from below, the bottom part. There you go.
There we go. We drink. So I've become kind of a water snob since going carnivore. This is a water I found at a natural health store that's near me in town. It's from France. As you can see, it's got the French flag. So there you go. Vive la France, vive la France. It's lavender sparkling water. This is my first time trying it, so you guys get a special treat, trying it live right here on camera.
And they're not sponsoring the show, if anybody's wondering. Justin just randomly bought that. And since we're talking about what you can drink on carnivore, he thought to bring it in. Now, our buddy Joe, he realized he can't drink mineral. He loves Italian mineral water, right? And he realized it was creating a problem for him. So he cut out the bubbly water. And I don't drink it every day, but I enjoy it every once in a while. So, a little Perrier, little LaCroix, but I mostly just drink plain water. Now, Justin, as part of your migraine protocol, you take a certain amount of salt. Do you ever put the salt in the water, or do you just? I do
put the salt in the water. Yeah, that's definitely an option. And I've completely messed up. This water has sugar in it, and I forgot to read it. So that's not good. Don't do that. Don't get this water. It has sugar. It's sweet. So that might cause some problems later. I didn't expect it to be sweet. So yeah, that's yeah, there you go. Didn't read the label all the way. I just thought it was a lavender sparkling water.
It's got lavender and sugar in it.
It's got lavender and sugar in it. Yes. Did not expect that.
And it was like $7 for the bottle.
And it was like $7 for the bottle.
That might be filed under fail.
Yeah, bit of a fail. There we go. Well, there you go. Special treat for the audience. Always be careful when you're out there buying. See, this is why it's so much better or easier just to get plain water and drink plain water, so that you don't have to end up in a situation where you spend $8 for a water that you kind of can't drink. So not great. Was not expecting that. Thank you. But this is the kind of quality that our fans have come to enjoy. But so back to sparkling waters. If this one did not have sugar in it, I would continue to drink it. But
I didn't know there was sparkling water with sugar in it. I mean, we learn something every day,
right? The French kind, apparently. Beware that French sparkling water. No more Vive la France. There you go. But the regular sparkling water, it can mess with the esophageal sphincter, which is what's in between basically your throat and your stomach, and helps to make sure your air goes to your lungs and your food goes to your stomach, basically.
Yeah, I think it's actually in there to to keep the stomach contents from coming back up. And apparently, carbonated water can cause it to spasm and allow stomach contents to come up, and then gives people heartburn or GERD or any one of those digestive issues. So it can be problematic. People argued about the chemistry of it and the CO2 in the carbonated water causing other problems and stuff like that. Again, like a lot of things, in moderation, it probably doesn't create a problem for most people. So, what about coffee? We've mentioned it before in a video. Some people seem to drink coffee every day and it doesn't seem to cause a negative side effect. Again, some people it does, and really the reason why people drink it is because they enjoy it. They've been enjoying it for a long time, and it's sort of a luxury or a comfort food, and they continue to drink it. And that's just an individual thing. I mean, none of these are going to be carnivore, and I don't, like you said, I don't think ancient people that we evolved from had access to carbonated water. you know I don't know if there's probably some spring out there somewhere with bubbly water coming out of it, but it's probably a rare thing. So yeah, it's not really carnivore, it's not really natural, but most people tolerate it pretty good. So
Yeah, for the most part. Something I would like to say, the one that I was saying is borderline, possibly meant to drink as milk, depending on your tribe, depending on your genes and things like that. So we all start out drinking, mother's milk, hopefully, certainly not designed to drink formula, but that'll be for a different video. And milk, yeah, so there's plenty of tribes that drink tons of milk. And we have the A1 and A2, and there's even at typical shelves you can get goat milk, you can get A1 or A2 cow milk, you can sometimes get raw milk depending on your state and where you're at.
or how close you are to the cow.
Or how close you are to the cow, get it warm straight from the tap. But there is something where about 50% of the population is lactose intolerant and doesn't do well with milk proper, milk straight. And I kind of put myself in that category. I do notice I have some digestive issues if I drink liquid milk. I seem to do great with cheese though. So that kind of matters, cheese versus milk, dairy, but we're talking about liquids. So we'll stick to talking about, dairy milk. I've done the raw milk as well. I seem to tolerate that a little better. It's just for the price, I'd rather buy a steak, and it goes bad, in about 4 or 5 days, and you have to pretty much chug the stuff in order to make it worth it without it going bad. And sometimes it tastes like grass, like straight grass. So it's not as sweet and delicious as, store-bought processed milk, which many say is not as good for you or good for you at all. There's a bunch of minutia in there. Try going a couple of months without the dairy, without liquid milk, try it again with it. Now I think heavy cream, like an organic, nice heavy cream, which I've drank on camera. There is a video of me drinking about like 4 ounces of heavy whipping cream in one go with a raw steak. That's right. Yeah. And nothing happened to me. I think I was a little extra hyper that night and things like that, but there was no deleterious effects. So a great way to, if you haven't done dairy like me before carnivore, because I was paleo and dairy-free, gluten-free for a long time, is to start with heavy whipping cream and see how you react to that, because that's mostly fat and there's less lactose in it and there's a little bit of sugar, but not as much. And so,
well, and most people don't drink 4 ounces of heavy whipping cream either. I mean, some people do, but most people, it's back to the coffee, right? They'll enjoy some whipping cream in their coffee, or I've made custard out of it, so I'm not really drinking it. It's more of a frozen dessert. But yeah, I haven't drank a glass of milk in a long time. And I mean, most people drink a glass of milk, they're drinking like 8 to 12, maybe 16 ounces at a time, which is quite a bit different than having a ounce. I don't know how much you put in a cup of coffee. Really, I've never measured it, but say up to an ounce of whipping cream, it's quite a bit different dose for sure.
And you may think you have a problem with dairy, but a lot of people, because of being fat phobic, grew up in households where it was 2% or skim milk, which is mostly sugar and not a lot of fat in it. Now regular milk is only about 3% fat. I think very rarely, but I think you can find 4%, although that's very, very rare.
Kind of depends on the cow it comes from. So most milk cows these days are Holsteins, and Holsteins tend to be lower in fat and higher in output. So that's why they're really common, because people tended to want the leaner milk.
So yeah, so milk is another one you can try. For me, it's a nice little treat. Every once in a while, I'll buy a carton, and it'll take me 2 weeks to go through it, and I'll finish it right before it goes bad, which is fine. But tea. So I was a huge green tea, oolong tea drinker before carnivore. Used to love it. Green tea seems to mess with me. It seems to give me headaches, not be so great. Haven't really tried. I think I've done a little bit of black tea. I seem to do okay with black tea. The issue is it's a bit difficult, because when you go carnivore, at least this is the way that's for me, since I live on my own, I'm only shopping for myself. I don't have tea bags around the house. I don't have a coffee around the house. And so oftentimes if I'm having these things, it's over and out, out of the home. And so meaning that who knows the processing of what they're doing, or I asked for no sweetener, you know what I mean? But yeah, I'm having a tea, but because I'm out at wherever, a burger joint, I might also have a fry, right? And then I feel bad the next day, and it's like, well, which was it, the tea or the fry? And so for you to really figure these things out, sometimes you might have to purchase it. To me, it's just not worth purchasing something that might make me not feel as great. So what's the point?
Right.
I'd rather spend that money more on stuff that I know it's going to make me feel optimal. But if you are curious, I know it's hard, but you've got to really kind of eat the same thing and drink the same thing for about a week, and then stop and see how you do. See if you noticed anything, and journal. You got to journal all that stuff.
Well, and I like how they promote things like green tea as being good for you and healthy, but they're really high in oxalates, and 80% of kidney stones are caused by oxalates. And so you would think they would take a pause and think, maybe helping people grow kidney stones isn't such a great thing.
You would think.
You'd think.
And I think on to everyone's favorite, alcohol. Now on the carnivore diet, beer is certainly off the table, but it's more because of the carbohydrate content and not the
Tends to be a lot of sugar. Yeah.
right. Tends to be a lot of sugar, a lot of carbs. I know they're coming out with low carb beers. I don't know exactly how that's done, or what some of them, the carbs are on them.
I think the Japanese started that, and that's what Asahi Super Dry was it's a high rice beer with low carbohydrate. So they're trying to get the alcohol content up while keeping the carbohydrate level low. I'm not sure how they got onto that so early, but a lot of people drink the Michelob Ultras because they're like, I don't know. Honestly, it's like 10 grams of carbohydrate. Maybe it's less per can or whatever. I think a lot of people who drink beer shift to that because they want to watch their figure, So, but again, if you're drinking
it's kind
one,
of like smoking a light cigarette. You end up just smoking a bunch more cigarettes, right?
right? Yeah, 12 pack of beers or a 10 pack of smokes. Yeah. So yeah, most people on carnivore shy away from beer, but we know beer is a big culture out there, microbrews and sub microbrews. I know I got friends that own a brewery, and it's a big deal to them. So
So what we
people are
need
gonna
is
do it.
blood beer. There's a way to make blood into beer.
If only. The closest thing I know of is I think when the Turks occupied Hungary, they banned alcohol. So the Hungarians were making red wine, and they told the Turks that it was
Blood.
bull's blood. Yeah. So, and there's still a brand out there called Egri Bekavir, which means bull's blood. So you can buy that and pretend like there's no carbs in it if you want. Yeah, whatever.
Here you go. And the thing is about the beer, it's not just worrying about the carbs, but because of coming from wheat and barley and things like that, you have gluten, right, in the beer. And so oftentimes people realize that it's the gluten. It may not be the carbs that are messing with you. It might be the gluten that's messing with you. Or something like, which was one of my absolute favorites, a Blue Moon. It's fermented with orange peels, and so you get a bunch of stuff with that too. And so, again, it's just be careful. We're not telling anyone what they can't do. We're just trying to give people information as to make the best choices that they can. Personally, for alcohol, I would stay away from beer unless my friends buy a really fancy one and say, hey, try this. Then I'll have a sip. But oftentimes people in the carnivore community do enjoy a nice scotch, a bourbon.
We do not drink that bourgeois European whiskey. We're Americans. Yeah, no, there is gluten-free beer out there. It's very expensive. I got a friend who's gluten intolerant, but a beer nut. So he brews his own gluten-free, and he does buy the gluten-free. But you're right. Most people, if they're going to drink, they either go with the dry wine or hard alcohol. People drink like gin or whiskey, because if you buy that and it's not flavored, it's not dragonberry or something like that, then it doesn't have sugar in it. So if you're buying an abomination like peanut butter flavored whiskey, yeah, it's full of sugar. But if you buy regular whiskey, it's not. And the alcohol came from sugar. The yeast converts sugar into alcohol. It does not convert back into sugar in your body. It just goes in as good old straight poison. So, and then your body turns into something a little less poisonous, to try and deal with it. So, yeah, but the carbohydrate content is really low. And actually, when you do stuff like that, it actually lowers your blood sugar. Ask me how I know, because I did the experiment. I did one for science back in my keto days. And sure enough, if you're in a ketogenic state and you drink a couple of martinis, your blood sugar will plunge. And though you may feel normal because you're used to that sort of thing, if somebody called an ambulance, they would be pumping you full of glucose. I'm just saying, because it gets pretty damn
low. How low can you go? How low can you go?
These are not experiments that we recommend that people try and do at home, because they could be very unsafe.
Now, what about tequila? I know whiskey, vodka, bourbon are fine, but what about tequila? Does tequila still have the sugar because it's from the agave or the processing extraction?
I think it's distilled, and so most of that's gone. Most of your hard alcohols are distilled, and then they usually add water or something like that to get it the right proof, the right alcohol content. But if it's not flavored hard alcohol, then it's probably doesn't have sugar. And I mean, things like gin, they'll be flavored with cucumber or juniper berries and stuff like that, and that's what makes it gin. But those things generally aren't contributing any sort of measurable carbohydrate to it. It's just the botanical essence that sort of give it a flavor and aroma, the terpenes and stuff like that, which I don't think there's any calories, much as carbohydrate in that. So alcohol has a caloric content because it's converted into energy eventually and burned up, hopefully. But if it's not flavored, it's typically safer. And if you want to know, just get yourself a glucose monitor and stick that finger and see what happens to your blood sugar.
So Tom, I think it's a lesson to take when buying alcohols is check the label, check the bottles, just like I did.
Yes.
Even when you're buying your sparkling waters.
Read the label. What is in here?
Now, you do have some suitable sparkling water there that's flavored. So, just a little tip, you could buy, a vodka, a gin, a tequila, take it home, and just throw in one of your sparkling waters in it, and you pretty much have a mixed drink. There'll be a little bit of flavor, got some alcohol in it. I think a tequila tonic is quite good. Actually, I think just tequila and tonic. I've done that even way before carnivore. I think they're delicious.
I have had diet tonic water too, and it was fine. It's got kind of a citrusy flavor to it, so yeah, I mean, if you want to mix, I know a lot of people, I mean, me personally, if I was going to drink something, it would be whiskey with just plain water. You know, that's how I drink it. So I don't really worry about what else is in there because I just use regular old water with it. So
Yeah, and many people seem to do fine that way. So yes, you could still be an alky and a carnivore. It's just when you drink, make sure you don't have any pizza, fried food, chicken wings, French fries around, because although it doesn't tend to happen, people tend to struggle a little more sticking to dietary requirements when they're sauced, especially if you're vegan though.
and we have noticed that it is easier for people to give these things up after they've been on a carnivore diet for a while. So, you know, if you're still drinking a lot of coffee and you're kind of worried about it, you know, stick with it. And you may find that your desire to drink more coffee or more beer or whatever it is will tend to decline, especially when, you know, you eat enough. You eat enough steak and you know, get your protein to fat ratio where your body needs it. A lot of times these cravings decline. So
And if you're like Bart, you need to work on your discipline. Your discipline.
stay away from that cider. That's right. I'm pretty sure all the ciders have carbs in them. So
Right. Anything else that people drink? I think those were the big ones. I'm trying to think.
well,
I mean,
you
you do
know,
have
in
the special
soda,
case, the occasional person that likes to, what's his name? The snake,
oh,
Joel
Cole,
Cole
Cole
Robinson. Is that it?
Robinson, yeah.
You know, I think he's been known to drink his urine from time to time. That's something we don't recommend. I suppose it's carnivore, but
Yeah, I never really saw any good evidence for the urine therapies and stuff like that. So I'm not going there, but never say never, but I seriously doubt that that's on my agenda in the future. But yeah, you know, you take the salt water for migraines. I do it sometimes before I go to the gym. I know our buddy Joe does it before a long ride. He's a cyclist, and we all, you know, from a for lifting or for cycling, we do notice that sometimes it gives us a bump, or it consistently gives us a bump in performance. So that is a thing. It's not necessarily necessary, but you know, particularly here, it's over 100 a day and stuff like that. So I could easily sweat out quite a bit of salt, and putting a little in, you know, putting a little back in can help. So for sure. So, anyways, yeah, the only other thing I think we didn't cover was soda, actual soda. A lot of people, you know, they go with the diet soda. Obviously,
Coke Zero, no good. Don't
a
do the
lot
Coke
of,
Zero.
yeah. So, you know, and I wouldn't twist somebody's arm to give it up right away if that was helping them get started. A lot of times artificial sweeteners will spike your insulin levels, even though they're not actual carbohydrates. It's just that response to the sweet taste. So, you know, they can be problematic. I've heard a couple of cases of people that were just chewing sugar-free gum, and that was the issue. You know, well, they stopped doing that, and things started correcting themselves. So, but you know, like a lot of things, it's probably more important to start by getting used to following the diet and eating the meat every day and every meal, and finding out how much you need to eat, what works for you, and then move on to tackle these little things, like, you know, artificial sweeteners or coffee or whatever it is. Make that your next step, because you don't want to, I mean, some people are just, they want to jump in head first and do everything, and, you know, cold turkey. Most people, it's better for them to kind of ease into it. So yeah, you're a little out of focus. There you are. Not as blurry. I thought, damn, I need some glasses.
I thought, no, you took a few shots on accident. No one saw
Oh,
it,
that's what
but
it
you had a
was.
few shots. That's why I
Just
started
started thinking about alcohol. Oof.
get that head flush. There you go.
Right.
Head
All
change.
right. Hey, we want to thank everybody for watching. Well, leave us your comments. Let us know what you drink, and or what you're
What you
trying to
get
give up.
drunk, what you get crunk, what you're drunk, drank. Isn't that how the kids say it now? Drank.
Right. Get your drink on.
To drank on.
So, anyways, while you're sitting around enjoying your Crevassier, perhaps leave us a note, click on the like button, send a link to this video to your other friends that are at the cocktail party with you, and make it a topic. But until next time, eat some meat, feel better, and whatever you do,
Don't drink the
fall.
sugar water.